From the earliest flicker of human consciousness, long before cities rose from riverbanks or alphabets carved themselves into clay tablets, people awoke with the strange residue of images clinging to the edges of their minds. Visions that dissolved with the morning light, yet refused to be forgotten. These fleeting phantoms commanded as much reverence as thunderstorms and eclipses, because in ages when the world seemed governed by forces too immense to comprehend, the inner theater that opened behind closed eyes felt like a secret doorway to something older, wiser, and infinitely more powerful than the waking world. Shamans of Paleolithic tribes carried the burden of deciphering these nocturnal messages, tracing the silhouettes of bison and antelope painted on cave walls not only as records of hunts, but as echoes of dream journeys they believed transported their souls into hidden realms where outcomes of future pursuits were negotiated with spirits long before foot touched earth. In the Mesopotamian dawn, as city-states carved their authority into the fertile dust between the Tigris and Euphrates, kings kept official dream interpreters at their courts, convinced that every nocturnal vision represented a thread pulled taut by divine fingers. Clay tablets from the library of Ashurbanipal record entire catalogues of dream omens, meticulously arranged so that a ruler who dreamt of drinking from a golden cup or seeing a fox dance in the marketplace could consult scribes trained to transform such strange details into political strategy. Dreams served as a form of celestial correspondence, and kings acted not merely as administrators of earthly lands, but as custodians of a fragile dialogue with gods who believed that the sleeping mind was the perfect canvas for their most urgent messages. Across the Nile, Egyptian priests developed an even more complex relationship with the dreaming world. They believed that each night, as the sun god Ra journeyed through the underworld on his solar bark, human souls drifted with him, slipping out of the body through channels of breath and shadow. To dream was to wander through cosmic regions usually forbidden to living eyes, gathering glimpses of ancestors, gods, and forces shaping the fates of kingdoms. Temples dedicated to Serapis and Imhotep served as sanctuaries where the sick slept, hoping for revelatory visions, a practice known as dream incubation that promised both healing and divine counsel. Papyrus manuscripts preserve accounts of dreamers who received instructions from gods on which herbs to boil, which prayers to recite, even which moral errors in their lives had allowed illness to afflict them. In this culture, to ignore a dream was to disregard a message delivered at great cosmic expense.
Meanwhile, on the craggy coasts of the Aegean, the Greeks approached dreams with a fluid mixture of poetry, philosophy, and the pragmatic curiosity that defined their intellectual spirit. Homer's epics depict dreams as messengers in physical bodies, winged, dazzling, or cloaked in shadow, sent by gods to advise heroes or deceive them. Yet by the time philosophers like Heraclitus and Democritus walked the stony agora of their cities, they were already dissecting dreams as natural phenomena emerging from the human psyche, suggesting that the mind crafted images from lingering impressions and unresolved emotions. Still, the sacred tradition flourished alongside this new rationalism. Pilgrims traveled to the Asclepian temples, where they slept upon sheepskins to invite dreams revealing cures for their ailments. Stone masons carved inscriptions of these miraculous accounts into marble walls, creating vast archives of human suffering transformed into hope through nocturnal visions. In the Roman world, dreams became instruments of political power and personal fate. Cicero, with the careful skepticism of a statesman, wrote treatises questioning the reliability of dreams. Yet even he admitted that certain visions seemed too precise to dismiss. The emperors, caught in the swirling anxieties of ruling a sprawling, restless empire, surrounded themselves with interpreters. Calpurnia's dream warning Julius Caesar of danger the night before his assassination became one of history's enduring examples of a dream ignored at catastrophic cost. Later, in the chaotic years of imperial succession, dreams gained even greater influence. The populace whispered stories of emperors who claimed their rule was ordained by nighttime visions, and soldiers who followed generals because they believed their dreams aligned with destiny. Far to the east, in the courts of ancient China, dreams unfolded within a philosophical landscape defined by balance, harmony, and the interaction of cosmic forces. Early Chinese texts speak of dreams as journeys of the Hun, the ethereal soul, which wandered beyond the confines of the body, while the Po, the corporeal soul, remained anchored to flesh. The Zhou dynasty's Book of Rites records elaborate rituals for interpreting dreams, cautioning that dreams of fire, animals, or falling stars could signal the shifting mandates of heaven. Centuries later, Taoist sages approached dreams as gateways to inner cultivation, believing that the sleeping mind could roam pure realms untainted by desire, practicing forms of spiritual travel that awakened deeper understanding upon returning to the body at dawn. The legendary philosopher Zhuangzi's story of dreaming he was a butterfly still ripples across time, challenging the boundary between illusion and reality, self and other, waking and dreaming.
In India, where spiritual inquiry wove itself into every aspect of life, dreams held a place of profound metaphysical significance. The Upanishads described waking, dreaming, and deep sleep as three states of consciousness revealing layers of the self, each more refined than the last. To dream was to witness the mind crafting its own universe, a microcosm echoing the larger cosmos in which gods, humans, and all living beings participated in an eternal cycle of creation and dissolution. Yogic traditions developed techniques to maintain awareness even in dreams, laying early foundations for what later cultures would call lucid dreaming. In Ayurveda, physicians observed that the content of a person's dreams could diagnose imbalances of the doshas, revealing illnesses before they manifested in the waking world. Here, dreams were neither random nor merely symbolic. They were diagnostic instruments of body and soul. Among indigenous cultures of North America, Africa, and Oceania, dreams served as central pillars of community life, spirituality, and identity. The Ojibwe people revered dreams as personal revelations, guiding the choices of hunters, warriors, and healers. Vision quests involved days of isolation and fasting to invite powerful dream encounters with spirit guides. Among the San people of the Kalahari, dream-sharing circles bound the community together. Stories of nocturnal journeys were not private experiences, but communal maps of shared purpose and ancestral wisdom. Polynesian navigators relied on dream guidance to interpret signs from the sea and sky, believing that ancestors watched their voyages from realms accessible only when consciousness slipped its daytime restraints. As centuries unfolded and empires rose and fell, the Middle Ages embraced dreams with a blend of mysticism, fear, and moral scrutiny. Christian theologians like Augustine wrestled with the nature of dreams, distinguishing between those inspired by God and those whispered by demons seeking to sway the soul. Monks recorded vivid dream visions that guided the founding of monasteries or foretold political upheavals. Medieval dream literature blossomed into intricate allegories. Works like the Roman de la Rose led readers through elaborate dreamscapes where virtues and vices took on human form, transforming the sleeping mind into a battlefield of moral symbolism. At the same time, ordinary villagers feared nightmares as signs of spiritual attack or the presence of malevolent beings that crept into bedrooms under the cover of darkness, blurring the line between folklore and psychology long before either field had a name. When the Renaissance cast its bright light across Europe, curiosity about the human mind expanded as dramatically as interest in anatomy, astronomy, and mechanics. Scholars began cataloging dreams with the same enthusiasm they applied to mapping the stars or constructing new medical theories. Leonardo da Vinci kept notebooks describing not only his inventions, but also the dreams that seemed to spark new ideas in the quiet hours before dawn. Physicians debated whether dreams arose from the movement of humors within the body, the lingering vapors of food, or the subtle workings of imagination freed from rational constraint. Yet even as scientific thought gained momentum, alchemists and mystics continued to search for hidden meanings in dreams, convinced that nocturnal visions held clues to the transformation of the soul, just as surely as they promised the transmutation of metals. With the arrival of the Enlightenment, the European intellectual landscape shifted again, turning its attention toward reason, observation, and empirical study. Philosophers like Locke and Hume approach dreams as puzzles of memory and perception, questioning how the mind created such vivid sensations without input from the senses. Dream journals proliferated among thinkers who believed that careful documentation could reveal patterns in cognition. Scientists experimented with sleep deprivation, observing the breakdown of mental processes when the brain was denied its nightly restoration. Yet, despite this growing rationalism, dream omens still circulated widely in literature and popular belief, revealing that even in an age of reason, the human relationship with the unconscious remained too mysterious to fully untangle. By the 19th century, as industrial cities thundered with new machines and scientific breakthroughs reshaped daily life, interest in dreams took on unprecedented intensity. Romantic poets like Coleridge and Wordsworth saw dreams as fountains of creativity, believing that the deepest truths emerged from states where imagination roamed unbound by logic. Mesmerists and early psychologists conducted daring experiments in trance states, exploring the liminal territories between sleep, hypnosis, and waking consciousness. Spiritualist movements swept across Europe and America, blurring the boundaries between dreams, visions, and afterlife communications, filling seance halls with people desperate to believe that the boundary between the living and the dead was permeable if only one learned to listen to the language of dreams. When the 20th century opened, it did so on the threshold of a revolution in understanding the human mind. Freud, working in the quiet Viennese rooms where he listened to the confessions of his patients, proposed that dreams were not divine messages nor random illusions, but windows into the unconscious, revealing desires, fears, and conflicts otherwise hidden from awareness. His book, The Interpretation of Dreams, reshaped psychology, arguing that dream imagery cloaked symbolic meanings beneath layers of disguise. Suddenly, the private visions that had once belonged to mystics and poets became subjects of clinical study, interpreted as expressions of internal turmoil. Freud's theories sparked intense debate, inspiring new schools of thought, even as they provoked fierce criticism. Carl Jung expanded the field further, suggesting that dreams did not merely reflect personal struggles, but tapped into a collective unconscious shared by all humankind. Archetypes, universal symbols appearing across cultures, emerged in dreams as if humanity carried ancient memories encoded in the psyche. Jung's patients dreamed of serpents, wise elders, shadowy doubles, and journeys through forests and caves, mirroring mythologies separated by thousands of miles and centuries. To him, dreams were not psychological noise, but pathways to individuation, the lifelong process of integrating all aspects of the self. As neuroscience blossomed, Laboratories across the world filled with machines that could measure electrical pulses, track eye movements, and illuminate brain activity with unprecedented clarity. Researchers identified stages of sleep, mapping the cycles through which the brain passed each night. REM sleep, rapid eye movement, became recognized as the primary stage in which dreaming occurred, a discovery that revolutionized sleep science. A sleeping person's eyes flickered beneath closed lids, as if watching invisible dramas unfold, while the body remained paralyzed by neurological mechanisms preventing dreamers from physically acting out their visions. Scientists discovered that during REM sleep, the brain's emotional centers flared with activity, while regions responsible for rational thought quieted, explaining why dreams often felt vivid, emotional, and bizarre. They traced the role of neurotransmitters like acetylcholine and serotonin, observing how chemical fluctuations shaped the intensity, clarity, and emotional tone of dreams. Sleep became understood not as a passive state, but as a dynamic neurological symphony orchestrated with exquisite complexity. As the 20th century progressed, the electric hum of modern life brought new anxieties, and dreams became battlegrounds where the subconscious confronted pressures the waking mind could barely articulate. Soldiers returning from the trenches of World War I described recurring dreams of explosions, gas clouds, and endless marches through mud, images that later psychologists recognized as early descriptions of post-traumatic stress. Artists, sensing that the modern world was reshaping the human psyche, folded dreams into their creative revolutions. The surrealists treated dreams as sacred wells of truth, uncontaminated by reason, allowing the unconscious to spill directly onto canvas. Salvador Dalí painted landscapes where clocks melted like soft wax, where elephants walked on impossibly long, spindly legs, where tigers leapt from the mouth of a fish, capturing the fluid logic of nightmare and fantasy in color and form that seemed to suspend gravity itself. André Breton's Surrealist Manifesto proclaimed dreams as the last refuge of absolute freedom, a realm where imagination could rebel against the rigid structures of society. At the same time, scientists refined the tools with which they probed the sleeping brain. Electroencephalography revealed that the brain did not rest in a single uniform state during sleep, but cycled through stages defined by distinct electrical rhythms. Researchers began to observe patterns in dream recall, discovering that waking during REM significantly increased the likelihood of remembering a dream. Sleep laboratories became quiet theaters where volunteers slumbered under the watchful glow of red lights and the soft scratch of pens tracing brain waves onto rotating paper drums. Technicians recorded nightly voyages through psychological landscapes no camera could capture, using physiological data as the only map of terrains shaped from memory, emotion, and imagination.
Yet, even as dream science advanced, entire cultures continued to nurture dream traditions that expanded far beyond the laboratory's reach. In the high plateaus of Tibet, monks practiced dream yoga,
a discipline cultivating awareness during dreams to explore consciousness with deliberate clarity. For centuries, Tibetan practitioners believed that lucidity in dreaming prepared the mind for the moment of death, training it to navigate the afterlife with steadiness and insight. Their texts described dreams not as illusions to interpret, but as training grounds for spiritual awakening. Techniques such as visualizing symbols before sleep, maintaining awareness during hypnagogic states, and recognizing the dream's fluid nature allowed monks to transform nightmares into opportunities for practice, dissolving fear by confronting it with equanimity. Meanwhile, in the rainforests of the Amazon, shamans continued to use vision-inducing plants during nighttime rituals where dreams blended with waking perception. Ayahuasca ceremonies, conducted for healing or divination, often culminated in dreamlike journeys under the guidance of experienced healers who interpreted the symbolic language of visions as messages from spirits, ancestors, or the natural world itself. To these societies, dreams carried practical power. They guided decisions about hunting, healing, marriage, and conflict, weaving the nocturnal imagination into the daily rhythm of life. Back in the industrialized world, the rise of technology created new dream motifs that previous generations could never have imagined. In the early decades of the 20th century, people dreamed of trains, telephones, airplanes, and skyscrapers, symbols of speed and innovation, reflecting a rapidly changing society. After the advent of cinema, dreams began to mimic cinematic structure, jump cuts, dramatic close-ups, shifting perspectives, and scenes unfolding like films projected by an invisible director in the darkened theater of the mind. The experience of watching movies, especially in the era before television, introduced masses of people to visual storytelling in a way that subtly reshaped dream imagery, making dreams feel more narrative, more dramatic, more infused with the language of moving pictures. When television entered homes, researchers noticed another shift. Dreams became more episodic, more fragmented, more saturated with images lifted directly from commercials, news broadcasts, and sitcoms. Media scholars noted that people exposed primarily to black and white screens often reported monochrome dreams, a phenomenon that gradually faded as color television became widespread. These observations hinted at the profound interplay between waking experience and the architecture of dreams, suggesting that as culture evolved, so too did the texture of the human subconscious. By the middle of the century, the scientific understanding of dreaming reached a pivotal transformation through the work of pioneers like Nathaniel Kleitman and his student Eugene Esserinsky, whose discovery of REM sleep in 1953 marked a new era in dream research. For the first time, scientists had a measurable, observable marker of dreaming. The flickering motion of the eyes, rapid, rhythmic, unmistakable, offered a window into the sleeping mind that decades of speculation could never match. The dream state was no longer a mysterious black box accessible only through recollection. it became a physiological phenomenon that could be studied, quantified, and tested with scientific rigor. Researchers soon discovered that REM sleep was not just a stage of dreaming, but a vital component of memory consolidation, emotional regulation, and learning. Experiments revealed that individuals deprived of REM sleep experienced heightened irritability, difficulty concentrating, and even hallucinations. The brain, it seemed, required its nightly immersion in dreamlike activity to function properly during the day. REM rebound, a phenomenon in which the brain compensates for lost REM sleep by plunging more quickly and deeply into dreaming, demonstrated the biological necessity of dreams with startling clarity. As dream science progressed, new questions emerged. Why did the brain generate such vivid imagery? Why did dreams follow such strange logic? What purpose, if any, did dreams serve in the development of personality, creativity, or emotional resilience? Some researchers proposed that dreams helped integrate newly learned information into long-term memory. Others suggested that dreams provided a safe environment for rehearsing threats, drawing on evolutionary theories that saw dreaming as a survival mechanism inherited from early human ancestors who practiced responding to danger in the simulated arena of the mind. One influential hypothesis, the threat simulation theory, proposed by Finnish psychologist Antti Revonsuo, argued that dreams evolved as a means of reenacting and preparing for dangerous situations, allowing early humans to refine their strategies for escaping predators, confronting rivals, or navigating treacherous landscapes. Supporting evidence came from the observation that dreams involving threats, falling, being chased, encountering aggressive animals, were remarkably common across cultures and historical periods. In this view, nightmares served not as disturbances of sleep, but as exercises in survival. Yet other scientists suggested that dreams might play a role in emotional detoxification. Studies showed that during REM sleep, levels of norepinephrine, a stress-related neurotransmitter, dropped dramatically, allowing individuals to emotionally process traumatic or stressful memories without triggering the full physiological response associated with fear. This theory posited that dreams acted as overnight therapists, helping the brain integrate difficult experiences in a calmer neurochemical environment. Still others argued that dreams reflected the brain's attempt to make sense of random neural firing, stitching together fragments of memory, sensation, and imagination into narratives after the fact. This activation synthesis model, proposed by J. Allen Hobson and Robert McCarley, suggested that dreams did not inherently possess meaning, but acquired it through the mind's relentless drive to impose order on chaos. According to this view, dreams were the brain's improvisational theater, constructing stories out of noise simply because storytelling was what the brain was built to do. Despite these competing theories, one truth became increasingly clear. Dreaming was far more complex than any single explanation could capture. Even the process of remembering a dream posed intricate psychological challenges. Researchers found that the brain's memory systems were partially offline during REM sleep, making dream recall unreliable. People often remembered only the most emotional or bizarre fragments, and even those memories faded rapidly upon waking unless deliberately captured through journaling or focused recollection. Around the same time, the phenomenon of lucid dreaming began attracting the attention of scientists and the public alike. For centuries, lucid dreaming had been described in philosophical texts, spiritual manuals, and anecdotal accounts, but it was not until the late 20th century that researchers devised methods to verify lucidity through physiological signals. Pioneering studies by Stephen LaBerge used prearranged eye movement patterns as markers, allowing lucid dreamers to signal from within the dream state that they were aware of dreaming. These findings electrified both researchers and enthusiasts, revealing that consciousness could exist within a dream with full self-awareness and intentionality. Lucid dreamers described experiences ranging from flying over cityscapes to conversing with dream characters who displayed surprising autonomy. Some used lucidity to confront recurring nightmares, transforming frightening figures into benign or even helpful ones. Others explored the boundaries of imagination, conducting experiments on gravity, time, or perception to test the limits of dream physics. Scientists studying lucid dreaming recognized its potential not only for understanding consciousness, but also for therapeutic applications, such as treating nightmare disorders or enhancing creativity. As the digital age dawned, dreams evolved once again, shaped by the glow of screens and the increasing virtualization of daily life. People reported dreaming of text messages, email interfaces, and pixelated landscapes drawn from early computer games. The immersive worlds of virtual reality began influencing dreams, introducing spatial distortions and motion effects previously unfamiliar to the sleeping mind. The boundary between reality and simulation grew increasingly porous as digital experiences wove themselves into the fabric of memory, providing new raw material for the dream engine to process.
Neuroscientists pushed further, exploring the possibility of decoding dreams directly from brain activity. Functional MRI and machine learning techniques allowed researchers to reconstruct rough images of what participants viewed while awake, raising the question of whether similar methods might eventually reveal the content of dreams. Although the field remained in its infancy, early experiments suggested that certain aspects of dream imagery, such as categories of objects or emotional tone, could be inferred from neural patterns. These findings sparked ethical debates about privacy and the sanctity of inner experience, reminding society that dreams
long considered the last bastion of personal autonomy, might someday be accessible to machines. Meanwhile, anthropologists studying remote communities continued uncovering dream practices that challenged Western assumptions. In certain Melanesian societies, dreams were considered messages from the dead, requiring specific rituals to honor the spirits who communicated through sleep. In parts of West Africa, the content of communal dreams helped guide agricultural decisions or resolve conflicts. Among the Aboriginal peoples of Australia, the concept of the dreaming, or dream time, described not dreams in the nightly sense, but a timeless spiritual dimension underlying reality itself, where ancestral beings shaped the land, the laws, and the relationships between all living things. This cosmology treated dreaming not as a neurological byproduct, but as an essential truth embedded in the universe's structure. Across continents and centuries, the human fascination with dreaming remained unwavering. Even as modern science uncovered the biological mechanisms behind sleep, millions continued to ask the same questions that stirred ancient civilizations. Why do certain dreams feel prophetic? Why do some dreams recur across years or even decades? Why do dreams evoke emotions so strong that they linger long after waking? And perhaps the most mysterious question of all, could dreams truly reveal hidden aspects of the self, or even glimpses of realities not accessible to the waking mind? These questions grew more urgent as psychologists expanded their understanding of the relationship between dreams and mental health. Therapists found that dreams often illuminated emotional conflicts that patients struggled to articulate while awake. Traumatic nightmares provided clues to unresolved fears, while symbolic dreams hinted at desires or anxieties buried beneath layers of habit and social conditioning. In some therapeutic approaches, such as Gestalt dream work, patients reenacted dream scenes or spoke from the perspective of dream elements, uncovering insights that had eluded them through conventional conversation. Memory researchers, meanwhile, explored how dreams reorganized knowledge. Studies showed that students who slept after studying performed better on memory tests, particularly when dreams incorporated material from their lessons. Athletes who dreamt about practicing certain movements often improved their skills more rapidly, as if the brain used the dream state as a rehearsal space. Musicians frequently reported nocturnal improvisations that later inspired real compositions. Writers, scientists, and inventors described breakthroughs that arrived during dreams, including the structure of the benzene molecule, the melody of the Beatles' Yesterday, and entire passages of literature.
Even the content of nightmares proved instructive. Repeated dreams of falling, losing control, being chased, or appearing in public unprepared revealed recurring psychological patterns. Some evolutionary psychologists suggested that nightmares reflected ancestral threats, predators, unstable terrain, hostile rivals, that shaped the human nervous system over millennia. Others argued that nightmares performed emotional regulation, helping individuals confront fears in a symbolic form that, paradoxically, strengthened psychological resilience. As researchers probed deeper, they encountered phenomena even stranger than ordinary dreaming. Sleep paralysis, a state between waking and dreaming, in which the body remained immobile while the mind regained awareness, became a focus of intense study. People across cultures described encounters with shadowy figures, feelings of suffocation, or sensations of floating above their bodies, experiences that fueled folklore about demons, spirits, or extraterrestrial visitors. Scientists traced these sensations to REM atonia, the paralysis that prevented dreamers from acting out their dreams, combined with the intrusion of dream imagery into wakefulness. Yet, understanding the mechanism did little to diminish the profound emotional impact such experiences held for those who lived through them. Another phenomenon, hypnagogia, the transitional state between wakefulness and sleep, offered glimpses of dream creativity in its earliest stages. Artists and inventors throughout history had exploited this liminal period for inspiration. Thomas Edison famously napped, holding steel balls in his hands, which clattered to the floor as he drifted into sleep, waking him and allowing him to harvest ideas from the edge of dreaming. Salvador Dalí used a similar technique, believing that the surreal images flashing before full sleep offered unmatched originality. Scientists studying hypnagogia confirmed that the brain entered a fluid, impressionistic mode of processing during this transition, blending sensory impressions with imagination in ways rarely accessible to the fully awake mind. The mystery of shared dreams also captured attention. While science had yet to find evidence that people truly experienced the same dream, numerous accounts surfaced across cultures, siblings claiming they dreamed identical scenes, lovers describing parallel narratives, entire groups reporting similar nightmares after collective trauma. These stories, though anecdotal, hinted at the deep interconnection between dream content, emotional bonds, and shared environments, suggesting that while dreams were individual constructions, they could resonate across minds shaped by common experiences. In recent decades, attention has turned to the dreams of children, whose sleep patterns and brain development offer clues about the origins of imagination. Children's dreams often contain fantastical creatures, exaggerated fears, and shifting landscapes that mirror the rapid neurological changes occurring during early development. Researchers found that young children reported far fewer dreams than adults, not because they dreamed less, but because the brain structures required for encoding dream memories were still developing. As children aged, their dreams grew more narrative, more emotionally complex, reflecting the maturation of cognitive abilities that allowed them to construct coherent stories from internal images. Dreams also played a crucial role in the formation of identity during adolescence. Teenagers often reported dreams of transformation, growing wings, changing bodies, discovering hidden powers as symbolic reflections of the psychological metamorphosis occurring during this turbulent period. These dreams, filled with intensity and vividness, paralleled the heightened emotional and hormonal changes shaping the adolescent brain. The study of dreams in aging populations revealed another layer of complexity. Older adults tended to experience fewer nightmares, suggesting that emotional processing in dreams evolved over the lifespan. However, individuals with neurodegenerative conditions, such as Parkinson's disease, often exhibited REM sleep behavior disorder, acting out their dreams because of the breakdown of the mechanisms that normally induced muscle paralysis. This disorder provided researchers with unique insights into the interplay between motor functions and dream activity, demonstrating how deeply intertwined the brain's systems truly were. In the 21st century, the collective dreaming mind expanded yet again as humanity entered a world saturated with information, visual stimuli, and constant connectivity. The dreams of modern individuals often reflected anxieties about surveillance, digital footprints, social media, and the tension between virtual and physical realities. People dreamed of scrolling endlessly through feeds, of losing control of digital identities, of algorithms manipulating their lives in ways both subtle and surreal. Dreams mirrored the metaphors of the age: networks, signals, disconnections, glitches. As social and political tensions intensified globally, dreams became charged with collective anxiety. People reported recurring imagery related to climate change, floods, fires, collapsing landscapes, mirroring the ecological uncertainties defining the era. During pandemics, dreams exploded in frequency and intensity, a phenomenon documented across continents. Researchers suggested that widespread isolation, fear, and disruption of routines triggered heightened REM activity, causing vivid dreams and nightmares that formed a kind of global dream diary reflecting a shared crisis. And still, with all this knowledge accumulating like sediment across centuries of inquiry, the phenomenon of dreaming persisted as one of the most intimate, elusive, and hauntingly beautiful aspects of human existence. The more scientists measured electrical patterns, mapped neural pathways, and cataloged dream reports, the more evident it became that dreams occupied a space where biology, culture, memory, and imagination intertwined too tightly to be reduced to any single explanation. Dreams resisted confinement. They slipped through the cracks of every theory, refusing to surrender their full mystery, as if the sleeping mind insisted on preserving a realm of experience untouched by complete understanding. As research advanced, New technologies allowed unprecedented glimpses into the architecture of the dreaming brain. High-resolution neuroimaging captured not only the sweeping waves of activity during REM sleep, but also the subtle shifts in connectivity that shape the content of dreams. Scientists discovered that regions involved in autobiographical memory lit up during dreaming, pulling fragments of lived experience into the dream narrative. Yet these memories were rarely reproduced faithfully. Instead, they were rearranged like pieces of mosaic, scattered across imaginative landscapes where familiar faces appeared in impossible settings and forgotten moments resurfaced in distorted, symbolic form. The hippocampus, responsible for forming new memories, played a key role, while the prefrontal cortex, seat of logic and self-monitoring, dampened its influence, loosening the constraints of rationality and allowing dream logic to bloom. Unexpectedly, machine learning models revealed that dreams contained recurring structural patterns. Even when content varied, certain emotional arcs, tensions, and resolutions surfaced again and again, suggesting that dreams echoed narrative shapes deeply rooted in human cognition. This discovery raised provocative questions about whether dreaming had shaped the evolution of narrative traditions, influencing the way humans told stories long before written language existed. Meanwhile, linguists studying dream reports noticed that individuals often described dream events with unusual grammatical constructions, mixing tenses or shifting perspectives mid-sentence. This tendency hinted at the fluidity of dream experience, where the boundaries between past, present, and future dissolved, and where the sense of self could expand, contract, or fragment without warning. Some dreamers reported experiencing multiple viewpoints simultaneously, seeing themselves from outside their bodies while also feeling their own emotions from within, which challenged conventional notions of perception. Philosophers seized upon such accounts, suggesting that dreams presented alternate modes of consciousness that revealed the mind's capacity for multiplicity. These philosophical explorations dovetailed with advancements in artificial intelligence, which raised new questions about whether machines could ever dream. Neural networks trained on vast data sets produced internal representations that, in some ways, mirrored the associative processes of the human brain. When researchers visualized intermediate layers of deep learning models, they found bizarre dreamlike imagery, distorted shapes, hybrid creatures, shifting textures, leading some to speculate that AI, in its own computational way, generated something akin to dreams. Although these machine dreams were not conscious experiences, they illuminated how complex systems processed information through patterns that resembled the surreal, symbolic quality of human dreaming.
At the same time, dream researchers began exploring the frontier of dream engineering, techniques aimed at guiding or influencing dreams deliberately. Lucid dreaming induction devices, sensory cues timed during REM sleep, and targeted memory reactivation techniques allowed individuals to nudge their dreams toward specific themes. In sleep laboratories, sounds or scents presented during sleep could alter dream content, suggesting that even in its deepest phases, the sleeping mind remained porous to fragments of external reality. This raised both therapeutic possibilities and ethical dilemmas. Could nightmares be alleviated through targeted interventions? Could traumatic memories be softened by shaping dream content? And conversely, what risks emerged when the sanctity of dreams could be modified by outside influence? Parallel to these scientific advancements, cultural fascination with dreams reached renewed intensity. Social media platforms became spaces where millions shared their dreams, seeking interpretations or simply marveling at the strangeness of their nightly narratives. Patterns emerged across entire populations. Widespread dreams of losing teeth during periods of social instability. Dreams of being unprepared for exams among adults long out of school. Dreams of wandering through abandoned cities during times of global disruption. Psychologists recognize these trends as reflections of collective anxieties, revealing how individuals, despite leading vastly different lives, often dreamed in synchrony with the emotional climate of their societies. Historical dream archives, once considered curiosities, gained new significance as researchers compared dreams across centuries. Medieval dream records, Renaissance journals, diaries from the Romantic era, and clinical notes from the early 20th century all revealed striking similarities to modern dream accounts. Despite differences in technology, culture, and worldview, humans across time dreamed of flying, falling, being chased, encountering lost loved ones, or finding themselves in strange versions of familiar places. These parallels suggested that dreaming was not merely shaped by cultural circumstance, but rooted in universal aspects of human cognition and emotional life. Yet the cultural framing of dreams varied dramatically. Where ancient civilizations saw dreams as messages from gods or ancestors, many contemporary societies approach dreams through the lens of psychology or neuroscience. Still, spiritual interpretations persisted in countless communities. In parts of the Middle East and North Africa, dreams continued to play roles in religious decision-making, with some individuals believing that dreams of prophets, holy figures, or symbolic animals carried divine guidance. In East Asian cultures influenced by Confucian and Buddhist traditions, dreams were seen as reflections of moral conduct or indicators of interpersonal harmony. These traditions treated dreams with a respect that Western scientific culture, for all its discoveries, sometimes overlooked. As the world entered an era defined by rapid change, global migration, and cultural blending, dream practices from different regions intersected in unprecedented ways. People incorporated elements from multiple traditions: scientific, spiritual, artistic, into their understanding of dreams. Dream-sharing groups blended Jungian archetypes with indigenous symbolism. Online communities explored lucid dreaming as both psychological exploration
and entertainment. This hybrid landscape revealed a modern resurgence of dream culture, echoing ancient traditions while embracing contemporary tools. Researchers studying creativity found striking connections between dreams and innovation. In laboratories, artists were asked to draw or compose immediately after waking from REM sleep, producing works that differed markedly from their daytime creations. Dream-derived art tended to feature unusual juxtapositions, heightened emotion, and symbolic resonance. Scientific inventors reported similar experiences. Circuitry designs, algorithmic insights, and experimental solutions emerging fully formed from dreams. Some neuroscientists hypothesized that REM sleep fostered divergent thinking by weakening rigid associations and allowing distant concepts to connect in novel ways, providing fertile ground for creative breakthroughs. In medical research, attention turned to the role of dreams in mental health. Studies on depression revealed disruptions in REM sleep timing, with depressed individuals entering REM earlier and experiencing more intense dream activity. Traumatic stress disorders manifested through persistent nightmares that replayed painful memories, sometimes with minor alterations that heightened emotional impact. Therapies such as imagery rehearsal, where patients rewrote the script of their nightmares while awake, proved effective in reducing nightmare frequency, demonstrating once again that the boundary between dream and waking life was permeable, with each influencing the other. As dream science advanced, the question of dream significance resurfaced with new urgency. Could dreams predict psychological decline? Could changes in dream content signal early stages of neurological disease? Researchers studying dementia found that individuals who later developed conditions like Alzheimer's sometimes experienced shifts in dream patterns years before symptoms emerged. Dreams became not only reflections of the inner life, but potential diagnostic tools, offering glimpses of neurological changes too subtle for conscious detection. But even with these scientific strides, certain features of dreaming defied conventional understanding. For example, the phenomenon of precognitive dreams, dreams that seem to foretell events, continued to intrigue both laypeople and researchers, though scientific explanations remained cautious. While many such dreams could be explained through coincidence, probability, or retrospective reinterpretation, others were harder to categorize, especially when documented before the event occurred. Although no definitive mechanism had been identified, these accounts raised questions about how the brain processed subtle cues or unconscious information during sleep, potentially weaving them into dream narratives that felt prophetic.
Similarly, the experience of déjà rêve, the sensation of remembering a dream when encountering a waking event, added another layer of complexity. Unlike déjà vu, which felt like reliving a moment, déjà rêve created the eerie impression that one had already dreamed the present situation. Some neurologists associated this phenomenon
with temporal lobe activity, suggesting that dreams created latent memory traces that resurfaced unexpectedly. Yet for many individuals, the feeling carried a mysterious quality that strengthened their belief in the prophetic nature of dreams. Another enigma concerned the presence of people in dreams who had never been consciously seen before. Although psychologists argued that the brain recombined facial features from countless brief encounters, passing strangers, background extras on television, many dreamers insisted that certain dream figures felt entirely unfamiliar, as if introduced from outside the domain of memory. These dream characters sometimes spoke with surprising autonomy, offering advice or posing questions that the dreamer could not anticipate. Philosophers exploring consciousness noted that these interactions challenged the idea of a unified self, revealing the mind's capacity to simulate other intelligences with startling realism. As interest in consciousness deepened, some researchers proposed that dreams represented a default mode of brain function, a state where the mind wandered through associative pathways unfiltered by sensory input or executive control. This perspective aligned with observations that the brain remained active throughout sleep, even when external stimuli faded. According to this theory, dreaming was not an exception, but a continuous background process, temporarily exposed to awareness during REM sleep. The waking state, with its structured attention and goal-oriented behavior, was merely a specialized subset of consciousness built upon this deeper foundation of continual mental exploration. This line of inquiry led to broader questions about the evolutionary origins of dreaming. Why did all known mammalian species and many birds exhibit REM-like sleep? Why did animals as diverse as dolphins, elephants, rats, and finches show signs of dream activity, including rapid eye movements, limb twitches, and neural patterns resembling complex experiences? Studies of songbirds revealed that their brains replayed melodies during sleep, suggesting that dreams supported skill refinement. Rats navigating mazes showed hippocampal activity during sleep that mirrored their daytime explorations, implying that dreams contributed to memory consolidation across species. These discoveries suggested that dreaming was not a uniquely human phenomenon, but a fundamental feature of complex nervous systems. Observations of animals dreaming raised profound philosophical questions about subjective experience in other species. If a dog whined in its sleep, paused twitching as if chasing something unseen, did it experience a dream world similar to ours? If cuttlefish changed colors while resting, displaying patterns normally used for hunting or communication, were they enacting dream-like sequences? Animal dreaming forced humans to reconsider the boundaries of consciousness, blurring the line between human and non-human minds. While dream research expanded, historical scholarship also entered a new phase, analyzing how societies across time used dreams as tools of political power, social cohesion, and cultural expression. Ancient kings used dreams to legitimize authority. Medieval mystics used them to inspire religious movements. Revolutionaries interpreted dreams as omens guiding social change. In modern times, political leaders sometimes reference dreams in speeches, tapping into their symbolic potency. Scholars noted that dreams often reflected societal tensions, providing a mirror not only for individual psychology, but for collective consciousness. Meanwhile, the commercial landscape of the modern world introduced new dimensions to dreaming. Advertising infiltrated daily life, shaping desires and anxieties that spilled into dreams. Some marketers even speculated about using sounds or scents to influence consumer dreams, a prospect that triggered public outcry and sparked debates about cognitive autonomy. Though such attempts remained speculative, the mere idea highlighted how deeply intertwined dreams had become with the fabric of contemporary existence. The political sphere also intersected with dream culture in unexpected ways. During moments of national crisis, news outlets documented surges in collective dreaming, recurring symbols appearing across thousands of reports, as if the subconscious of a nation attempted to process trauma through shared imagery. Psychologists studied these patterns, noting that society-wide dreams tended to appear during wars, natural disasters, or economic turmoil. These collective dreams offered insight into mass emotional states, functioning almost like societal barometers for unspoken fears. The digital age amplified these phenomena further. Online dream databases amassed hundreds of thousands of entries, allowing researchers to detect patterns with unprecedented scale. Algorithms analyze dream language, identifying correlations between dream content and emotional states, life events, or cultural trends. These analyses revealed a dream landscape shaped by global interconnectedness. Dreams filled with airports, highways, digital interfaces, and shifting geopolitical tensions. For the first time, humanity could observe its collective dreaming in near real time, witnessing how events on one side of the planet echoed in the dreams of people thousands of miles away.